So, hi, everybody. This is Linda Brubaker, and this is Job Search Lunch and Learn. I'm a career coach, and I've been doing this now for the past 7 years. Coming into this field with over 20 years of experience as an HR recruiter, a business partner, a headhunter, and a hiring manager. Mark Anthony Dyson is doing that as well today. We're here to provide you with resources and support. But we do this because not only do we care about you all, but we can do this because our business on the side is what helps to support us. We're going to put some of our information in the chat as well. And anybody who'd like to reach out to us, as I said, job search coach, and I can help you with any stage of your job search, from strategy to resume to LinkedIn profile and engagement strategy to interview prep. So happy to do that as well. We're going to get started because we've got a very full agenda today. One thing I'm going to ask is that when you have a question, please make sure that you raise your digital hand, because otherwise we have too many people talking at the same time. Before we get started actually on the program itself, if you have a quick win, and I'd like to limit quick wins today to just a couple of minutes. You've got a quick win to share. Let's please do that. Anybody have a quick win to share? All right, Lisa.
I have an interview on Friday with a hiring manager. I had done two kind of screenings, one with a junior recruiter at the company and a video with the senior recruiter, and I'm moving forward to the hiring manager. I was referred into this company by a former colleague, which helps. So looking forward to that.
It always does. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good morning. How are you, Mark?
Good. How are you? So I finally, after about 15 applications, finally got a phone screen interview, and a couple of thoughts. I'm trying to change my strategy a bit in that I'm trying to connect with people prior to a job being posted, because my experience and my feeling, and speaking to folks out there, once a job is posted, it's tremendously challenging. I mean, it's almost always either internally, folks are looking for the role, and once it's posted externally, it almost appears that the job is already gone. And so I'm really trying to work my network and really maybe create a job for myself, or get a job before it's posted. So thanks so much.
Okay. And yes, that's a good strategy, but I will tell you that it is not the only strategy, honestly, both as a recruiter, as a hiring manager. Keep applying for those jobs when you see them, because they really do work as well. And I'm getting a little bit of an echo here, so I'm going to try and see if I can't fix that. Julie.
Hi, yes. Transformation Experts out of Miami, Florida is hosting an Agile International Career Fair. And I put the link in the chat. So it's happening on October 4th. And so I'd like everybody to feel free to register and join. Love to have you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
And Linda, we'd love to have you.
I'm trying to put something together for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, great.
Good morning. How are you, Joanne?
I'm good. Thank you. First of all, Julie, I love your energy. So my job search is fairly new, about a month. And I had a couple of Zoom interviews this week, both through networking. The first one was through a gentleman who used to be a recruiter in the office where I worked. And that one, I think they both went well. She said it was the first interview. They've got a lot of resumes. The second one I had yesterday, he flat up, I phrased that wrong. He was honest at the end and said it didn't seem like it was going to be a good fit. He was looking for certain qualifications that I didn't have, that a lot of other applicants did have. But he said, keep searching within. I worked for Northwestern Mutual for years, and this was one of the representatives in one of the offices. And he said, keep searching within the company, because I've got such a background, not only in the industry, but in the company. So I felt positive that you thought that would be a good way to go, is a good suggestion. And I appreciated his honesty that it was not going to work.
I agree. But congratulations on the interview, whether it was the right fit or not. Every interview is practice. Every interview moves you forward.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. We're going to make this one our last win for this morning. Go ahead, Tony.
Sure. I just wanted to weigh in. So a few weeks back, I think it was maybe 3 weeks back, I mentioned a contract that I put out for consulting. I patiently waited last week and didn't hear back, but I just heard back this morning that they're largely good with the contract. So it looks like it'll happen. So just really exciting news for me this morning. And just wanted to share that with everybody, since I talked about it before it was actually a proposal. So
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
thanks so much.
Okay. Now,
Appreciate the support from all of the folks here. Thanks a lot.
absolutely. So remember, though, even when you start the contract, don't stop looking. Okay. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
This is short term, so it only is interim, but yes, it is a win that I'm going to count as a good start. So first,
absolutely a
encouraging
win.
news that had one. Yeah.
It's a win. You add it to your resume. We're going to add it to your LinkedIn. There are lots of different ways, and we can talk about how to do that if you'd like. But the idea is you want to make sure that you are now setting yourself up for future success as well by continuing to keep that job search going.
Yep. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Okay. So now I'm going to. Sorry, you ever have feelings when you're technologically challenged? Today, that's me. Okay. Just happens some mornings. It's just not quite with it in any event. So now we're going to get started on the program. And I'm so excited to have Mark Anthony Dyson with us today. Mark Anthony Dyson is my go-to when it comes to talking about job scams and fake jobs. And rather than me introducing him, I'm going to let him introduce himself. He's also going to put some information in the chat. And before I actually turn it over to him, I want to remind you that some of the information, that all of this chat information that we've got here will be copied and put into our private group. I'm going to put the link to the private group in the chat as well. Make sure that you're continuing to share your information and to ask questions. If you have a question for Mark as we get going, you can either write it in the chat with the words question, all in caps, and I will try and find it. And if I miss it, somebody else shout it out to me. But you can also raise your digital hand and we'll make sure that we get as many of those questions answered. Got it? All right. Mark?
Yes, well,
You're up.
my name is Mark Anthony Dyson, and I am a career writer. I am not a coach these days. I don't coach or consult one-on-one. I have done some group consulting every now and then as people request it, but I don't get into the granular anymore of the one-on-one coaching. I just want to clarify that part. But it's important, more importantly, I've written more than 1,000 articles on job search and careers over the last 13 years, especially. I have a blog called The Voice of Jobs, where I started out. And actually, I started out before that writing resumes, but since then I don't write resumes anymore. But I do like to keep up with the trends and things that are happening. But it's more important for me to keep an at-large eye on what trends are going on in the job search space, which leads me to why I'm chasing job scams. And I'm chasing job scams like a storm chaser was chase storms. You want to look and try to get a glimpse inside to see what makes a job scam tick, or better yet, try to provide solutions to avoid and defend against them. And more than likely, everybody has gotten a job scam over the last few months and probably the past few years. For some people, you probably gotten one in your text or voicemail or email box, or maybe even on LinkedIn. But from what I've talked to, scams are affecting everybody. In fact, the stats say that 18 to 44 are the ages that people are most affected. If you're younger, between the ages 18 and 25, you are affected and have fallen for more scams than anyone else in the age group. If you're older than 44, you don't get scammed as much as far as the dating is concerned, but you are in that group where you actually pay more. It hurts either way, whether you're scammed frequently, you're scammed the one time where I saw a woman that was scammed for more than $100,000 because basically she got greedy. But understand this, a lot of the scams that are driven today are driven by what's called social engineering. The best way to call social engineering, some of you are familiar with the term, it's been around for years, but the best way to term it and define it is instead of scammers hacking into your computer, which some of them can do and try to, and you may have even experienced someone hacking into your email, that it is better to hack you in. It's a little bit easier, especially now, right? Being that the job landscape is full of uncertainty. There are a lot of applications being filled out for one job. I've heard a number this morning, 1,500 per application. That doesn't apply to every single job, but I have seen evidence where I've seen a job that was put out for 5 hours and already had 100 applications. So depending where the job is posted and how public the job is, you can expect to have a lot of competition. On the other side, companies are looking at a lot of AI resumes. Now, I'm going to try to have a balanced approach here. On one hand, a couple of years ago, some employees or some employers were saying, hey, send us your AI resumes. Now they're saying, oh, don't do that. You're sending us too many AI resumes and we can't tell what's real, what's not. Most of the AI resumes, if you're depending on them, they're lousy. They're terrible because they don't address you as a person. If you really want to find out how AI is going to fare for you, if you want to do your resume for you, put your name in that little box and see what comes up. If you don't come up at all, it probably means that AI doesn't know you. So your input and your output's only going to be greater than your input. Although your input into AI machine is not going to be all that effective, being that it only grabs certain data and it gives an output. But I'm going way too far there. But the part of the point is that scammers are using AI to generate these resumes. And most of them are terrible. They're bombarding employers. So ones who are getting 1,500 postings, getting applications and resumes, they're having to sort through all of that when they're probably used to maybe doing 100 at a time. And it's usually one person that recruits for a position. One person. And in fact, you've even seen in the news where recruiters have been laid off a lot over the last couple of years. But one person is doing resumes. So they're seeing all these AI resumes and they're just trying to get to the 3 or 4 that for 5 they may want to call. But instead they're getting fake. Fear is that behind the scenes, again, a lot of these employers are trying not to hire fake employers. Or I'm sorry, fake employees. So therefore, there's a big concern. You look at more of the data, the number 2 riskiest scam out of all last year in 2023 were job scams. It cost the population more than $2 billion of those who were scammed. So far this year, there has been close to 1,600 cases that have been reported as scams. So there's a lot of them out there. They're all different types and they have different layers and all. So I want to be sure that you're aware that more than likely, if you're conducting a job search, you're going to be confronted by something that is more or less a dynamic scam where they're coming to you and they're moving to different people. And there are ones that are static where you may just run across one and people fall into the trap. Having said that, all of it again is based on social engineering, based on the fact that they're hacking human a lot of them do. They play on your desperation. They play on your anxiousness, your long-term unemployment, and all the things and emotions that are attached. If you're one of those people, you're more than likely ones that are targeted to get scammed, so to speak. But really, it's not a target. They're targeting your state of mind and your emotional state. One of the things you'll have to start to take out is your emotion. Just maybe start to remove a lot of that from your job search and be a lot more strategic. We'll talk about in this conversation, but I just wanted to get back to Linda. I told her, give her the introductory statement or some type of, base some of your questions and things on. So as we talk, I'm sure Linda will moderate and I'll keep looking at the chat for scams. So I'll turn it back to her so we can continue the conversation.
Wonderful. Okay. So now it's up to you guys. I know that you all have questions. So raise your digital hand and let's see how many of those questions we can answer. Who's first? Out of curiosity, while y'all are thinking about that, all right? I got 2
Go
of
ahead.
those text messages this morning, which was ridiculous. So just letting you all know they're still out there. All right, go ahead, Julie.
Hi. Yes, I was 2 parts. I was scammed by someone who said, sign up for this, download this app, and we'll do an interview through this app. And then they wanted you, it was quite a long conversation, a couple hours that I went through this long conversation with them. And they wanted to know, where I wanted to work or what area. And then they asked me they said, do I want to be paid by check or direct deposit? And I said, oh, I can just be paid by check because I'm starting to get a little wet. And they said, okay, well, what's your bank? And I said, you don't worry about my bank because I'm just going to be getting a check. So that's okay. And then they're like, just answer the question. Then they went ahead and said, okay, purchase your equipment and we'll reimburse you by check. And I said, why can't you just send me these? So then I just hung up because that was definitely a scam. And I was so afraid that I downloaded. And that's happened to several other people I know where they did deposit the check and then it's fraudulent. The scammers got access to their banking information or whatever. And also there's a scam about resume writers. And I think I just got scammed by somebody who I posted that I was looking for a job. And then they said, oh, your resume's bad. So you need to have your resume redone. And so I sent the lady $50, which I wish I didn't. And she just put out a generic resume, which is filled with tables and columns and things like that, which you're not supposed to have. And she put it in Adobe. And I said, can I have it in a Word document? And now she's ghosted me. And is it possible to get your money back if you already agreed to accept the resume, but then realize there's all these bad things with it?
You may need to go to your credit card company to dispute that.
Yeah, that's your best bet. And probably that resume writer wasn't a real resume writer, somebody that is tried, tested, true, that has gotten training, gotten a lot of experiences. And you're correct. Tables and charts and all that on a resume is just window dressing for a lot of people and not even necessary, much less, there would be a scanning problem or for an employer. So we'll take care of that part. But there's some other ways to get a resume done. Your resume may not have been all that bad. I don't know, but there's a lot of worse cases where their LinkedIn profiles that are fake, and these people are seeking out people to take advantage as customers, and they're
Yep.
not even real people.
Happened with 2 people. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a show last week, the job scam report. I have a lot of articles, but I also have a lot of podcasts. So to get a chance to look at, put the URL on there, or you can go to my LinkedIn profile to get that information. Let me deal with some of the things, because some of the things are very universal you talked about. One, you're getting scammed. And I think that was how long ago you got scammed? Was it a few months ago or a year ago?
The first scam was earlier this year, probably in February, but I took snapshots of all the thing, and I was thinking about sending it to the FBI, but I took snapshots of the whole conversation.
Let's make it clear. Let me make it clear right here. It's critical you report your scam as you would if your house was burglarized, or if you got robbed at gunpoint. It's critical. It's critical for the future of not only your financial health, but your career health. And I'll get really deep into that because I think this has happened to a lot of people. When you download anything from a scammer or you go on their website, they will give you a gift of spyware, malware, viruses on your computer. Basically, they're tracking your activities. So if you do your banking on your computer, they're likely to see it, unless, of course, you use a VPN, which will encrypt your information. If you don't know what a VPN is, a virtual private network that encrypts your information. So anybody looking on outside of having your login ID won't be able to see exactly what's going on. But having said that, being that you didn't report, which there's still time, still report it and still include the data, report it to ic3.gov, Internet Crimes 3.gov, ic3.gov. They're the FBI. Now,
Okay.
to get more education about scams, you should go to look at the Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker. It's called, you could just put in search engine BBB Scam Tracker. And you could just follow some of the links will lead to a lot of stories about how people are getting scammed. That way you could be more informed. The more you know what's really out there, the better it will be. But back to you, Julie. Did you find the job lead because you were approached, or you pressed a LinkedIn apply, or do you apply on their website?
They reached out to me. I think I had my phone number on LinkedIn, and I think that they just found my phone number and then just called.
Okay.
They
all right.
texted me.
Was it your number? Was it your actual phone number? Okay. That's something else too to consider. Consider using Google Voice phone number.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. I
Now, if
just
you
heard about that.
use an Android, I highly recommend one of the best services I've seen. And I'm not a fanboy of them, but I do, because I used to have an Android years ago. They gave me a mask number like a Google Voice number. And it has better trinkets and guards against scams than the Google Voice does. You do pay into it, as opposed to Google Voice is free. But they have where they can give you another number, and they have voice control where you can customize your message, even to, like, if an employer calls, you know what number they're calling from, you could put a special message for them. That's pretty impressive, by the way.
What's the name of that?
Youmail.
Email.
Youmail. Just look up Youmail and see if it's compatible for your phone. It is very useful. And that was 10 years ago. I'm talking about the very basics. They since then had a lot of updates and made it so that you can guard yourself. That would be the only thing you need to guard yourself against robocalls and all that. Although I do recommend getting a robocall killer of some type. In fact, there's a thing called RoboKiller. I use that. I pay the $80 a year to get that so that I don't get any scam calls. I get none. They all go to voicemail. And that's why I asked when Linda said that she was going to call me, I said, let me get your number so I can input. That's why, Linda, I had you give me your number so I can have you on file so I can recognize your number. But all that to say, that you may think that you may not have to go through those links that I do to prevent scammers and scam calls and scam emails. But trust me, the peace of mind is worth it for sure. But
Yes.
these criminals and these scammers are criminals. And this is where we need to do a little mind shift as a whole here. They're cyber criminals. And what happened to you, Julie, is a cyber crime. And so just as you will call the police right away if somebody came to your jewelry and your credit cards, it's the same principle. You probably want to act pretty quickly, even though they may not have gotten your number. They are really close now to knowing you as a whole and knowing your personal information that could be at risk.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I gave him a fake bank. I didn't tell him what I banked for.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. And even if you gave them your real bank, you should call, if you give your real bank and know it's a scam, even though you didn't give them any information, you call your bank and say, please be alerted that I was scammed with these are the things that happened. If you
Okay.
give, hopefully you didn't give me your social security number.
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Because
Oh, no.
people have given us a security number, and you guys probably have heard about the recent social security breach, right? Where 2.9 billion social security numbers were exposed to criminals. And anybody can get it and do something with it. Hopefully you acted on that. We need to get really deep on that. But did you understand what I mean, Julie? There are the things that when you get scammed, the things you do after scam. As far as did the resume writer approach you or the fake resume writer approach you?
There was a fake recruiter, I think, who said, send me your resume. And then she said, it doesn't look good and it's not passing the ATS or whatever. So call this person. And it was from Fiverr, F-I,
Fiverr.
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 And
Yes.
so she was a
Fiverr,
resume
yeah.
writer on Fiverr.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Lots of great information there, but I'd like to be able to make sure that we can get to some other questions as well.
Okay.
But the
all
idea-
yeah, but she addressed several different iterations of problems that people ultimately have. And I want to be sure to cover some of that. So this is good. Thank you, Julie, for sharing and courageously admitting that you've been scammed. And it's a courageous act. It's no shame at this point. For all we know, there's different layers every day that's coming. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much.
And by the way, if you are getting approached by some of those people and you've got questions about it, you're not sure whether or not it's real. Number one, trust your gut. If you have questions, ask me. Okay. I may not know all of them, but I can certainly help you do some of that research. And together we might be able to find some of that information. Okay. David.
Yes, thanks. So occasionally, as well as recently, I get notices of a job opportunity that's texted to me. They don't LinkedIn message me. They don't call me. They don't email me. It comes on LinkedIn message. It comes on the texting on my cell phone. And I don't like that at all. It makes me a little uneasy. And just a couple days ago, I had a guy from a phone number in Michigan with a very heavy Indian accent. I've never knew or heard of him before. He was texting me or actually calling me, I think it was on the phone, about a job opportunity needing 5 years or more experience at Power BI, which I don't have. And he would have realized that if he had looked at my profile for 2 minutes or whatever. Is that a scam? And is it a scam necessarily if they text you as a first contact?
At first contact, likely it's a scam, to be quite honest.
Really?
It's where, first of all, recruiters don't work that way.
Mhm.
They call you or contact you the same way that you put through your application. Or let's say they do get you on LinkedIn, they will first approach you and then they will ask you several questions to make sure that you are useful.
Mhm.
And there might be something a little bit further. And really, at this point, I would say whether you know someone familiar with the organization or not, you want to vet them very closely. I wouldn't engage anybody on text.
Someone who calls himself a recruiter texts me, I should just delete them.
Yeah. Recruiters don't work that way.
Okay,
My
good.
recruiting
Good to
friends
know.
have made it very clear that's not their first point of contact.
Yeah.
Where text would actually come in, if you had a conversation, they've confirmed that they're really real, they've gotten your trust, then they may engage you further through text. Although many of them are handsome now because the amount of scam texts that are going on. I would say ignore the text. In fact, report it and block it when you get them.
Mm-hmm.
They're really real. They'll try to reach out to you LinkedIn
Okay.
because
So
Here,
don't deal with anybody by a text, email, or LinkedIn or telephone.
now,
Yeah,
there are
please
some people,
go on.
honestly, David, who say,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Excuse
Go
me.
ahead.
I was going to say, there are some recruiters who are telling me that they are starting to reach out for an initial conversation by text. It is very rare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very-
It is okay not to respond to them. If they want to get a hold of you, they will get a hold of you another way.
Right.
But the big thing is, we all, speaking for myself, I've got a pretty big guy. Okay.
Mhm.
And I trust my guy. You all
Mm.
should too. If it looks wrong, if it looks suspicious, if it doesn't feel right, leave it alone, block it, delete it, report it, and go on from there.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And
What's also annoying is some people who I've never heard of before will start a conversation on LinkedIn, and then they want me to send them their resume.
yeah,
And you always
I'd
think,
be
no.
choosy about, I'd be choosy about, this is social engineering at its best. They flatter you, say your LinkedIn profile caught my
Yeah.
I
Right.
hope something
We're
to-
impressed with your profile.
or that you seem to be a right fit. And they never tell you, they rarely tell you exactly what you're right fit for. But it's strange. It's like going on a date without seeing someone's face and
Mhm.
barely knowing their first name. You know how strange that is? You know what I mean? I think everybody gets is that engage people you have that
Mhm.
earned your trust.
Yeah.
Yet, good thing you haven't given any information to them, but you need to protect your personal information with your life. And I mean that almost in a literal way, in the sense that you don't really trust anybody that easily. They need to earn your trust.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Okay.
I love this. I love it.
Me too.
Yes. Hi, Joanne.
Hello. First of all, I don't want to be, I'm totally like stepping on people's toes or interfering, but I just wanted to bring up, I was on the other call with you a few weeks ago with Jay Jones.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you do the same or similar stuff of what he does, but we're thinking,
He really gets into the dark forest and the trees. I had been I was chasing it from like a reporter's standpoint and then reporting what I've seen. And some of it has been very educational because I've learned about how to identify the LinkedIn profiles or fake LinkedIn profiles and all that. A few things he taught, but LinkedIn profiles or fake ones, they've been around for a lot of years now, but they're just at scale now because people have fallen for them. And so they're doing only what succeeds for them.
yeah, I still, if it was worth, because if people aren't aware of Jay and what he does, just,
Yeah.
throw it out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I could put his LinkedIn in the chat right now. I did a podcast in case some of you are wondering. We did a call and he was very informative to all these. In fact, a lot of people, I think, followed him that were used to following me. So if you go to the job scam report on Substack, that's where I'm at. I'll put that URL. I have about 30 something articles there right now, articles and podcasts. So there's a lot of information. It's probably one of the few places where you have somebody who's in the career space focusing in entirely on job scams. I think it's a pretty good place, but you can tell me if it's useful or not. If you will. But did you have any other questions, Joanne?
I don't think so. Just I did receive a couple. I don't know, in saw in the chat this week from these places that I don't know this place. I didn't apply. I don't know what the position is. It's time
Well,
hiring manager. If
Mhm. Yep. If you didn't apply there, be very suspect.
yeah,
Exactly.
Now, a smart recruiter, a lot of them are smart in the sense that they are realizing that they need to be intentional about identifying themselves. And mind you, if they do, keep in mind they're doing this to a number of people because they're getting non-responses of the people. So they're going with the people they like and they're doing the lit down and they try to have a conversation. And they're not going to ask anything intrusive if they're real. They're not going to ask for personal information right off the bat. That's a sign of the scam where they're asking you for your banking information and almost promising you the job, being that they see something in your profile that they feel. And
yeah,
that's
I
where
did fall victim to one of those a couple years ago, and he was doing it through Microsoft Teams, and it just was like going on. And I should have trusted my gut sooner. But they
yeah,
keep pulling you in, and they're like trying to find out information, and what do you like to do? And I'm like, oh, I call myself Sherlock Joanne, and my boyfriend. I mean, he's a lot more savvy than I am. He goes, that's one way they're trying to use
yep,
to try to figure out your password.
Exactly.
yep. If
And, when they got to the end and, after I don't know how many hours and he wants my email. And I said, if you have my resume, why do you need me to tell you my email? You should have it.
Correct.
And then he disappeared.
Yeah. So start asking questions earlier in the process.
Yes, absolutely. Now, let me tell you about an incident that happened. I think is pretty significant for the rest of you. Your resume has personal information that doesn't belong in the hands of scammers. Now, earlier this year, there was an incident where resume writers had went in and broken into several servers over in Asia and exposed millions and millions of information from resumes and applications. A lot of people uploaded. At first, I was thinking, oh, that's over in Asia. But what was going to happen over there is going to happen over here. I wasn't correct in that way. And my friend Peg Fisher had to set me straight. Is understand that the servers that were over there are used by companies that are US based. So a lot of the search engines like Indeed and all, their servers are not all in the United States, they're all overseas. So a lot of American information was exposed there as well. Now, the long game for them is that they want to pretend like they're you to apply to a lot of jobs. They want to be able to apply to credit cards, get new bank accounts, all in your name, because if they have enough information, they can use that to scam companies. So this is why resume information, you have to be careful with what you put on there. Your phone numbers, if you put your real phone number on, don't think for a second that's not vulnerable as well, because there have been cash app and Zelle scams as well. And they can create different accounts with your number on it. And they're able to get a phone with your number, it can be problematic. So that's why I say consider and entertain using a Google base, using your Youmail number to mask your number so they can't use those. More questions?
Yep. We've got another one right here.
Okay, cool.
Here we go, Mark.
Mark, my namesake. Take yourself off and meet me.
Yeah, it's a great name, and
Yeah.
you spell it correctly. So thank you for that. So a couple things. So first and foremost, thanks for this. It's fascinating because now that I think about it and I reflect on everything that's said, and actually the chat is fantastic as well. Appreciate everybody engaging in the chat. Um, I realize I've been scammed a few times. I haven't given out a lot of information, fortunately, but so that's helpful. My question to you is, you mentioned VPN, right? So I'm fairly tech savvy. Having said that, a lot of scams out there. I got a new computer, right? A personal computer, and I want to download a VPN software free, hopefully. I Googled some stuff. I want to make sure it's legit. Can you share for the group? I put it in the chat, but nobody responded. Can anyone share a free VPN software that I could download on my PC, Lenovo, Windows, that I can use? And
I'm surprised that Windows doesn't have its own VPN. I believe somebody put in the word VPN. I don't know if it's free. There might be some free out there, but understand,
It has both free and subscriber.
yeah, okay. How should I say?
Sword VPN. I got it. Thank you. All right.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and that's one of them. I pay for a service called Hype Advantage,
Okay.
which has been really great for me. And it allows, and most of the things that you pay subscriber, you can also put on your phone. Don't forget, your phone is a computer, has a lot of personal information. So you need to consider when you go to a hotel, you go to Starbucks, and if you're going to use their Wi-Fi, use the VPN. Now, the most secure way is take yourself off the Wi-Fi when you use your phone.
Mhm.
Just use your data.
Yeah. Gotcha. And I just want to clarify something. And Linda commented in the chat. You mentioned do not upload your resume to Indeed or
I didn't say
Glassdoor or
that.
any of those.
Hold on. I didn't say don't upload it.
Yeah.
I said understand that your personal information is on Indeed, but there are ways that the things you shouldn't put on your resume. And maybe you can expand a little bit. The things you shouldn't put on your resume at this particular point, like your address. Don't put your address on your resume. That's unnecessary these days. I understand there might be fields for it if you're filling out application, but as far as your resume, don't put your resume. I recommend using one of Google Voice or Youmail, or there might be some other services that are out there. Use that number just for your jobs. Or if you want to give somebody that as a business contact number, you could do that. But I would say that so that people have your real number, because your real number is something that's going to be personal to you and for only personal use. Now you can give it if you want to, but I'm just trying to save from possible other breaches, and there'll be others. That'll be one of the things that.
So from both a standpoint, Mark, as well as from a job search standpoint, my recommendation is do not post your resume on any of those public sites. You want to be able to control where that resume goes. You want to be able to control what that information is. Use those sites to help you find jobs, but don't just post a broad, generic resume out there. You really don't need to do that. In fact, your best bet in any such a situation is to find the job wherever you want to find it, but go to the company's website and apply directly on that company's website. That helps not only maintain the security of your information, but it also helps you ensure that the information you are providing is relevant to that job. And it will cut down on the number of, hopefully, scams you're going to get. No guarantees, but it might help cut that down as well.
Thank you, Linda. That's very helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's helpful, but there's something, understand this. A lot of people are scammed because they've applied to hundreds of jobs in a short period of time without really vetting the company to make sure that it's a real company. So let's say you applied to 100 jobs. There's no real data to say how much is scams. but you could probably bet on it. They're not real cops, no matter where they are, unless you've gone to the company website and gotten some information, but you still want to vet that company, especially since scammers are able to duplicate a company website and put it somewhere else. You ever seen a company name, like let's say Microsoft, and you see a Microsoft, but this time it's spelled with two T's instead of one? That's a scam because they've figured out that people aren't paying that much attention. They're excited to that Microsoft one stuff, when really they've fallen prey because they're not careful about who they're applying. So I think overall, and maybe if you want to even comment on this, scams have exposed some of the bad habits that people have been using for years and the wayward mindset in which they apply to jobs, because we've been taught, and all of us have been taught, that it's a numbers game. And really, it's more about intention and strategy. And the people who are successfully landing jobs in this environment, especially where that it's hard, because they're being much more targeted in their approach and the way they present themselves. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but I think that is of utmost. So, Mark, did you have any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. I'll even say this too. I don't know if you fall in this category. I'm saying this broadly to more than 3 dozen people who are left on call. That is good to start out being very careful and you taking control of your job search in that way, which we just talked about. If you're mass applying, you left the results to somebody else. And that's why a lot of people applied to 100 jobs, 200 jobs, 300 jobs, and there's no response. Hi, Lindsay. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Thanks so much for being here. I have a question for you.
Sure.
So I have younger cousins who are all about social media and where Gen Z and where things are going in the future and how they have opinions on older generations and that I should be doing something online and I don't know. I see all these things on Instagram and I am in that bracket that you said is spammed at a lot about these kinds of job scams. So I guess my question to you is any of that even real? I put in the chat that like scammers saying, you don't know if they're scammers saying if you make an Instagram page, if you pick the right niche and you capture the right audience and you market yourself correctly, that you'll make money every month doing minimal work. And to me, that sounds too good to be true. But so I haven't followed any of that, but I wanted your opinion.
Yeah, most people have, there's a lot of that out there. And some people are sincere about what they are. So they aren't trying to scam, but it is what I even call scammy behavior, that they're trying to sell you something that is more of an illusion. And not everybody wants that type to go about it that kind of way, because there are people who do catch the lightning in the bottle and it's real. But at the same time, a lot of people are selling you false bill of goods. And sometimes, whether they're intentional or not, it's not good behavior you should follow or want to do. Most people who I know that have been successful at doing those things were very intentional, and it took them a long time to do it. And what's more interesting, people who say that, I did this in 30 days and I made 6 figures and all that. The ones that I know that have done that I've been able to get close to, it took them years to get to that point.
Okay.
The ones that say 30 days, I don't know these people. I don't even know if they even really exist in the form that they say they exist. And a lot of them are being found out every day. And eventually it will be their turn to get found out. All that to say is you got to, again, like you would with scam call, vet them very carefully and vet them for a while. And look at them for a while. Some people are real, and you might be one of the fortunate ones that you might be able to have that. But for most people, like on this call, they're trying to get to a job, much less
No, I agree.
get a ticket, so to speak. And we're attracted to the golden ticket because it seems easier than what I've been doing all these years. And again, the social engineering that plays into our propensities. And to we want something easier, more money, flexible, remote work, all these buzzwords that people begin to follow and are not really, it's not realistic for 99.9 of us. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Lindsay,
Lynn,
you
wanna
actually
say
said it
something?
yourself too. You said, it sounds too good to be true. If
It
sounds
does.
too good to be true, trust your gut, walk away. It's a scam.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. We have time. If you're willing, Mark, we can do one or two more questions. David, I know you had your hand
One or
up.
two more? Sure.
Is that okay? David,
That's
do you have a
fine.
quick question?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thanks.
So anyone else besides Julie, because Julie's already asked one. Okay.
Oh, Julie, you're back.
I'm back. Yes, just really quickly, I wanted to ask, how do you recognize whether or not it's a fake URL and also a fake company website?
Excellent question. I was going to mention that earlier, but we went somewhere else. Okay, so let's say it is you got an email from Mike the Recruiter at Microsoft.com. And again, you're using Microsoft, and Microsoft is spelled with two T's instead of one. You can almost bet that is a scam. But if you went ahead and took the last half of the email address, don't put it in your URL, put it in your Google or a secure browser is Brave, Brave. It protects a lot of your private information from being put into cookies and your history. And so that anybody looking through your computer won't be able to find where you're going to web. And that will tell you that probably is a spam website or it's an unknown website. And of course, if it's Microsoft, it should be known. But because it has the extra T, it's suspect and likely it's a scam. So that's what I would do with getting those kind of emails. Somebody says that they're from, let's say, NVIDIA. And NVIDIA, they spell it they say videowork.com. Take the work.com, put it in the search engine. And if it doesn't lead to the actual NVIDIA site, get rid of that call, get rid of that email, block them, report them. And it doesn't hurt to tell your community on LinkedIn, say, hey, I got this look really real. Scammers are masquerading as angels of hope. They want you to, they're preying on the fact that you've had your open to work banner in your circle for the last 6 months and that you're finding it hard. They can't wait for that. Of course, that makes you a target. That's one of the ways. They can also look at your work history and see maybe you've been out of work for a year or longer. Of course, you're going to be a little anxious. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, but that's the URL. What about if you look on a company's website?
Okay. Hopefully you would vet the URL before you go to the company website.
Okay.
If you go to a scammer's website, like I said earlier, they may gift you with spyware. They may gift you with malware. All these are spy tracker software that they use to look at what your activity is. And some of them are able to decrypt whatever using encrypt. Unless, of course, you use a VPN, then they won't be able to do that.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Sure,
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Linda.
Normally, that's not my problem. Okay. I said, thank you so much for doing this, Mike. This has been absolutely fantastic. You've answered lots of questions, given us lots of great advice. Bottom line, guys, for some of this is if it feels too good to be true, it's too good to be true. You
It
need to
is.
protect yourself and
And
listen to
I'll
all of
follow
our.
up and I'll follow up too in the chat to just make sure that I didn't miss anybody or to answer as much as I possibly can. Of course, people can contact me via LinkedIn. I put my LinkedIn URL in there. I'll also put the job scan report there too, as well as my free job search. If you're looking for some additional help, I have collected or I've written tons of articles over the years, but particularly these are like the last year and a half or so. I've given out a whole lot of information. I compiled it to 125 modern job search tips. You can get that free of charge. You put your email in and get download. You do come to my email address. You get access to the job scan report, and that's free for a limited time. It is a subscription based. Lately, I've been keeping it open because more and more people have become a part of it. Eventually, we'll go to subscription, so no more fee. It's a whole other struggle right now. That report, no matter what, is for you. If you want to get off the mailing list, that's your prerogative. There's something there in the email where you can unsubscribe when you get next.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I just stopped the recording. I want to remind you again, thank you very much, Mark, for all of this. This is fantastic. But remember, you can copy down the chat. If you want to copy the chat before we leave the meeting, if you go up to the top of the chat bar where it says Job Search Lunch and Learn, just to the right, you'll see 3 dots. Click on those 3 dots. It will give you the option to save it. Another option is just to take the old-fashioned way, highlight the entire chat with your cursor, copy and paste it into something else. Now, I will put the chat into our private group as well. That should go in this afternoon. I will warn you that unfortunately, LinkedIn gods sometimes say that those links that are on that chat are active. Sometimes they're not. That's them. That's not me. I'll do my best. But at least you can make sure that you have that as well. Remember to connect with us. Next week, we're actually going to be talking about answering your questions about interviews. So make sure that you bring some of those as well. And hopefully we're going to be able to have some time to do a little bit of networking, small group networking as well. Okay. So great. Mark, this has been fantastic. Thank you all. Have a great week. I'm going to leave the the meeting open just for a couple of minutes in case anybody wants to continue to copy the chat. But otherwise, have a great week, everyone. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you very much.